Revised government data showed Monday that Japan's economy fell for the second quarter in a row in the 3 months through September. Today I'm joined on the line by Daiji Aoki, Senior Japan Economist for UBS. So what are your thoughts on this data and why do you think Japan has slipped into a recession?
So I think there are two factors that caused weak growth in the second and third quarter in Japan. The first one is weak overseas economic growth. Especially U.S. and China economic growth were very weak in the second quarter, which affected Japan export and related industries seriously. However, there were other temporal factors that caused big negative growth, especially in the third quarter, such as energy savings in summer season and Japan-China political tension, which affected Japan export and related industries, and rebound of eco-car subsidy, which was expired in the third quarter. So these temporal factors could explain sharp decline in consumption, capex, and export in the third quarter. So I expect in the fourth quarter there will be some rebound, positive rebound from these temporal factors.
This latest data puts pressure on politicians and the central bank to take policy steps to aid the economy. The Liberal Democratic Party is widely expected to win the elections on the 16th of December. This latest data boosts opposition leader Shinzo Abe's case for more fiscal stimulus and monetary easing. Are you expecting more fiscal stimulus and unlimited monetary policy in 2013?
Yes, I think LDP will try to implement strong deflationary policies of fiscal and monetary expansion. Here the key is that even after LDP's victory in the election, LDP needs the cooperation from DPJ, current ruling party, in the upper house when they decide supplementary budget and decide new BOJ's governance and vice governance. So this is because the budget bills in Japan and the appointment of BOJ's officials needs majority in both lower and upper house. And the LDP cannot hold majority in the upper house now.
And do you think the successful political party will be bringing in any other reforms next year?
LDP's first priority would be economic stimulus policy before consumption tax hike from April 2014. So, but in a longer term, LDP, with cooperation from with DPJ, will tackle with social security system reform to decline social security spending. And also will tackle with labor market reform to increase the women and elderly people's employment rate to enhance Japan's potential growth.
In terms of growth, Japan's economy, which is the third largest in the world, has been pretty anemic. It depends heavily on exports. What is your forecast for Japanese growth for 2013?
Yes, I expect around 1.5% of real GDP growth next year, which is above trend growth of around 1%. There are three key factors that would cause the improvement in growth for the next year. So first one is yen depreciation. So if new political regime led by LDP could cause yen depreciation trend with U.S. economic recovery, Japan's export will recover. Moreover, yen depreciation will improve corporate sentiment and then recover the capex next year. And the second factor is public demand from supplementary budget by new government. I expect at least 5 trillion yen of supplementary budget, which is around 1% of GDP next year, to boost Japan economy before consumption tax hike. And the third factor is the rush buying effect, or the front-loaded impact before consumption tax hike. So the increase of consumption tax hike by 2% points from April 2014 could increase real GDP growth by 0.4% point in 2013 because of the rush buying effect. But this impact is just temporary before tax hike. So there would be negative rebound in 2014.
The Bank of Japan's closely watched Tankan survey of business sentiment is due out on Friday. What are you expecting to see from the survey and how will this impact the movements in the markets?
I expect the current business sentiment in manufacturing sector will deteriorate further in Tankan survey. However, market has already priced in about the weak current corporate sentiment. So there could be some positive reaction if the outlook yen shows sharp improvement because of some expectation for yen depreciation. Also, weak sentiment could raise the expectation for additional easing by BOJ next week.
The US dollar against the Japanese yen remains largely range-bound ahead of Japan's December 16th election and the Bank of Japan's decision at next week's policy meeting, when many expect the central bank to announce new easing. How are you expecting this currency pair to react to next week's policy meeting?
I think the consensus has generally expect BOJ's moderate easing next week. So hence, I think the yen rate next week would mainly depend on the election results. If LDP get half majority in the lower house election, which is generally expected in the market from latest public polls, I think there could be some profit-taking action in the market, which could cause yen appreciation to around 81 level in the short term. However, if LDP gets 2/3 majority, which means LDP in the lower house could decide any bill that has been rejected by the upper house, there could be further yen depreciation expectation to 82 to 83 level.
Thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us today. Make sure you stay tuned to Dukascopy TV for more interesting interviews and press reviews. Goodbye.